Attorney General Bondi, we are in a deeply alarming moment where law and order is being replaced by chaos and corruption and really whatever Trump wants. And your department's independence and its capacity to do its job have eroded before our eyes. We have seen respected career officials who've been fired for doing their job. Thousands more are being pushed out with your buyouts and the threat of mass firings, and entire divisions are being eliminated, and grants have been canceled illegally.
What unfolded today was one of the most intense confrontations we've seen in a government hearing this year. Senator Patty Murray didn't hold back, not for a second, when she went straight at Pam Bondi with a blistering accusation that set the entire room on edge. Murray's message was clear, sharp, and unmistakably direct. Law and order is being replaced by chaos and corruption. And she directed it right at Bondi. The moment Murray delivered those words, the atmosphere shifted. Bondi stiffened, narrowed her eyes, and prepared for a fight. Murray pressed forward, accusing Bondi and her political allies of dismantling norms, bending rules, and allowing partisan interests to override the basic principles of justice. She argued that the system wasn't simply being mismanaged, it was being hijacked, twisted into a tool for political retaliation instead of fair governance.
We're joined by the Vice Chairman of the full committee. Senator Murray is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So I have questions about how and why those decisions are being made, and importantly, whether you're adequately resourcing DOJ to do its job. But before I turn to my questions, I do want to raise my alarm about the troubling pattern of trampling basic rights. Detainees, including U.S. citizens, being shipped overseas without any due process. Elected officials are detained for conducting oversight, and a U.S. senator gets tackled to the ground for asking questions at a press conference. This is not the country I know or the values I believe in, and I hope that colleagues on both sides of the aisle will agree with that. Now, to the questions. Yesterday, and I know that Senator Van Hollen raised this issue, a former DOJ attorney filed a protected whistleblower complaint accusing Deputy AG Emil Bove and senior DOJ leadership of defying court orders, including through, quote, lack of candor, deliberate delay, and disinformation, unquote. The complaint also accuses this administration of firing the whistleblower for, quote, telling the truth to the court. These allegations are deeply concerning. Now, I know you said that you can't discuss the case, but can you confirm that you agree that this administration should follow court orders?
We will follow court orders, Senator. The entire administration will follow court orders. The problem arises in the district courts. All these district courts throughout the country are tying our hands. But here's how we will follow them when we get to the United Supreme Court.
I need to ask
we're winning.
A number of questions.
And so, yes,
I know
we're following the orders of the court.
Let me ask my questions. Can you confirm you will not allow any conduct like what is alleged to continue at the DOJ?
I'm not going to talk about anything that's alleged. What I will talk about with you, hold on, you asked me a question and I get to answer it. What you asked me, alleged conduct that's part of a pending whistleblower lawsuit that was filed on the eve prior to Emil Bove's hearing today.
I'm not asking about that
suspicious.
Case
Hold on, let me keep going. I would run through a wall for Emil Bove and Todd Blanche.
Like to continue with my questions. I have very limited time. Thank you. I just want you to confirm for this you will not allow conduct like that at the DOJ. Yes or no?
I will always support and defend Emil Bove, and I will defend Todd Blanche. They are two of the finest people I know, and two of the ethical people I know.
I was asking about the conduct. Let me keep going here. Now, in April, DOJ abruptly terminated over 300 public safety grants that had already gone through a very rigorous and fair and apolitical application process with no explanation. This is funding to investigate and prosecute drug trafficking, to support foster care kids who experienced abuse or neglect, to expand access to forensic exams to prosecute violent crimes like sexual assault. These really senseless cancellations have already forced public safety organizations to cut employees and services. So I want to ask you, when you cut off the community-based violence intervention and prevention initiative funding, were you aware it is used to prevent and reduce violent crime?
Bondi pushed back instantly, calling Murray's claims exaggerated, unfair, and politically motivated. She insisted that she had defended law and order her entire career and accused Murray of weaponizing rhetoric to score political points. But Murray didn't flinch. She laid out example after example, cases, decisions, statements that she said contributed to what she called a dangerous erosion of the rule of law. The exchange grew heated fast. Murray demanded accountability, questioning how Bondi could justify some of the high-profile actions and legal maneuvers that had fueled public distrust. Bondi fired back that Murray was misrepresenting facts, cherry-picking narratives, and attacking her personally rather than addressing the real issues. Their voices sharpened, their expressions hardened, and the tension in the room intensified with every passing second. One of the most striking moments came when Murray said, "This isn't about politics. This is about the survival of a system built on fairness, truth, and justice. And that system is being torn apart." Bondi responded by accusing Murray of ignoring the failures on her own side, saying chaos didn't come from enforcing the law, it came from refusing to enforce it. But Murray refused to let Bondi flip the argument.
Yeah, Senator, you weren't here for that, so I'm going to have to repeat myself. We have cut grants. I think we've cut 6%. But if we have cut a grant that you feel should not be cut, please reach out to me. I will personally look at it. We've turned multiple grants back on. Okay. We have an appeal process. But if you want to come to me directly, I would be happy to sit down with you and look at that and help you.
I'm happy. I appreciate
Again, we're doing everything we can.
Okay, but let me just ask you, when you cut off the Expanding Access to Sexual Assault Forensic Examination grant, were you aware that that grant helps our authorities prosecute rape and sexual assault?
I have no idea about that specific grant you're talking about. That's why I said if you want to come sit down with me, I would never cut a grant intentionally that has anything to do.
Those recipients on the other end across the country.
Can you give me the details of that grant?
I can absolutely do that, and my staff will get that to you. But those are two critical ones that I just wanted to ask you about today.
Again, we've turned many grants back on, and we'll continue to. If you want to call me and we can discuss them with you.
Okay, in your budget request, you propose consolidating the Office on Violence Against Women into the Office of Justice Programs. In 2002, Congress actually codified the office as a permanent, separate, and independent office to implement the Violence Against Women Act. We did that to make sure that violent crimes against women receive the necessary attention, expertise, and resources, and to give the office a strong, independent voice within the Justice Department and federal government. Now your department wants to fade that into the OJP, which violates the intent of the law that we passed. It makes grant programs less effective, and it places a lot more barriers for victims and services they need. And I see that you're cutting the office's resources by about a third. So will you commit to us, the Appropriations Committee, to follow the law and maintain OVW as a separate grant entity?
I will follow the law, but I will not keep that as a separate grant entity. You and I can disagree all day long on what the law is. Well, that's being consolidated into the Office of Justice Programs. So I'm not going to cut, let me answer, I'm not going to cut anything that's going to hurt violence against women.
Not my question.
It will eliminate
I'm asking, just for your information, Attorney General, in 2002, we codified the office as a permanent, separate, and independent office. So that you need to go back and take a look at that. I know my time is out, but I thank you very much for the time.
She pointed out that public trust in institutions was plummeting, not because laws were enforced, but because people believed they were enforced selectively, based on allegiance, not accountability. That's corruption, Murray said. And corruption thrives when those in power look away. Bondi countered that Murray's accusations were reckless and dangerous, warning that painting political opponents as corrupt without evidence only fueled division. Murray responded that the evidence was there, and the only people refusing to see it were those benefiting from the chaos. By the time the confrontation ended, the tension was still thick in the air. Neither woman backed down. Neither woman softened her stance. And both walked away from the moment, knowing they had drawn a line that cannot be erased. This wasn't a polite disagreement. It wasn't a debate about policy. It was a direct challenge over the future of law, order, and the integrity of government itself. Murray accused Bondi of helping create the chaos. Bondi accused Murray of exploiting it. And now the entire country is left watching, wondering which version of the truth will win and what the cost will be. One thing is certain, this clash is far from over. If today proved anything, it's that the fight over law, order, and corruption is only just beginning.